gonna have a great time doing it. So we're gonna wait for our gauge. I got it where I wanted at 35 psi. Now this may be a little high. Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Defiant Jeep. In today's episode, we're going to go over a meeting that we had conducted. We were actually hosting a 101 first-time off-roaders Jeeping session. It was a course or a class that we had provided for brand new off-roaders. And this meeting was open to everybody. It didn't necessarily have to be a Jeep. It could have been an ATV, a UTV, some kind of other off-roader, four-wheeler, like let's say a full-size pickup or an SUV. It doesn't matter. We went ahead and provided this class for everyone, and everyone was welcome. We did have a nice full course. This meeting, of course, was hosted by Desert Wranglers, and for the most part, the MC or the instructor of the class was our club president, Fred Ginsberg. You know, we all took a small part in this. There was a lot of participation. We actually had a great time doing it. This first section, of course, we talked all about tires, the types of tires to look for, what would you need in an off-road tire, the differences between tires, stuff like that. So, of course, yes, this episode is going to be tire talk, but it is fun, and we had a lot of great participation. I hope you enjoy the episode.
So you bring your friend out or someone in your household, you can explain things to them because they haven't gone out on the trails yet. So it's good to go over the basics. So what we'll do is kind of run through our organized presentation and hit the introductory topics. I know we're going to hit some areas where everybody's going to have a ton of questions, you know, like talking about Garmin and satellite comms or other stuff. So what we'll try to do is hold the long questions till the end. You know, just a quick question about something, you know, that you see up on screen, shout it out. But we could spend hours just talking about tires, hours just talking about, you know, satellite comms. So we'll save those big issues till the end of the session, or if we run out of time, we'll make it a topic for one of our upcoming meetings. So just kind of pepper us with short questions initially. I think everybody knows the board members that are here. Steve Zapparelli, our education and training director, and our mechanical guru. So,
I don't know about guru, but I've turned a wrench every now and then.
Greg Jaworski, our vice president.
Hello, vice presidency.
Just kind of overall expert on lots of stuff.
And counselor to the current president.
Keith Merrill is our trail master. He's the one who sets up a lot of the trail runs or makes sure that the trail runs that other people set up are organized properly, safely. Patty Zapparelli, she's our webmaster, communications expert, one of our trail leaders. She runs our Mount Odyssey trails and some others. So, yeah, go ahead. Again, bagels are around. Feel free to, you know, munch on them during the meeting, whatever. You know, we're kind of informal. If a question comes up or something, just shout it out. If you have to go to the bathroom, you don't have to raise your hand. It's funny, I you know, taught college for so many years, and all these college students are still like afraid to, Professor, can I go make wee-wee?
He said, can I go make wee-wee?
Kind of funny on that. All right. So we'll get started. Like I said, we'll run through the basic topics first, and then we'll kind of double back on it and go into detail. There is a sign-in sheet floating around, so put a check mark. Come on in. Put a check mark next to your name. If your name's not on the list, just scribble it down. That way we have a rough idea how many people attended, and when we set up the next meeting, that's something we'll show our sponsor and say, look, we had all these people come to the class. Give us more.
I carry a couple handhelds for the IB. As long as it's GMRS, it doesn't matter.
So I drive a truck stop. Get fuel for it. So they have a midland one at the truck stop.
I've got the Midland, but 500 miles.
I don't know this one. He just needs one.
Okay. As long as it's, don't get an FRS radio. Make sure it's GMRS. Because FRS.
Are we ready to?
I like riding in the back of the bus.
Yeah.
That's the only thing you want to watch out.
All right, so we will officially begin. One of the first rules of running trails is when somebody gives you a start time, that is the start time. That means you show up at least 15, 20 minutes earlier. Because when the trail leader says, we're heading out at 8 or 08:30, they're heading out. At 8:30, they're, on the street. And you show up late, too bad. They've gone without you. It's always wise to get the phone number of the trail leader. So if you are running late, you could text them and say, please, Patty, give me another 5 minutes. I'm stuck in a traffic jam at this light or something. And at least let them know you're coming. It's real important that they either know you're on your way or not, because otherwise they're just going to assume you're a no-show. Anyway, as I said, today's presentation is basically for people who are new at this. Maybe you've never gone out on a trail, maybe you have. Quick show of hands. Who has not gone out on trails yet? Keep your hand up. So don't be embarrassed, I need to know.
Well, I've been on them, but I didn't drive.
We're addressing that.
Okay.
Who in the group has gone out on Desert Wranglers runs? Another stuff, yeah. And who in the group have gone out on runs, but from other clubs, not Desert Wranglers? Okay, so most of you have, been out in the dirt, but for those of you that haven't, basically this morning is dedicated for you. That is the purpose of today's class, to alleviate your fears and concerns so that in the upcoming weeks you will go out with us. Quick show of hands. I know most of the people here drive Wranglers. Is there anybody who has a 4x4 that is not a Wrangler that they usually check out?
Gladiator.
Oh, Gladiators count as Wranglers, but thank you. Sarah, what have you got?
Cherokee Trailhawk.
Okay, still stock or? you
It's stock
modified?
right now. Give me a
Okay.
couple months.
The words, the true words.
I don't have an issue with that. As I said, today's class is open to everybody.
It's pretty solid for what I've done so far.
And Tim's driving.
71 quarter ton.
Repeat, please.
C71 quarter ton.
Nice.
CJ2A.
Yeah, that's it. All right, so a lot of people ask, why is Desert Wranglers primarily about Wranglers and not other cars? For the purposes of the class, we're open to anybody. And for the couple of you that don't have Wranglers, they're just getting into it, we probably will schedule a run over the next, few weeks. We don't look at the calendar yet. It'll be relatively easy, the Norman Wells or something, that you could come in any vehicle, just to get a feel for, what it's like on a trail. But most of the runs we do restrict it to Wranglers and Gladiators. only because we know what those cars can do. Everybody driving the same car, we know what it can climb, we know how wide it is, how it can turn, etc. Makes it easy if somebody has a problem. Oh, I can't get it into 4 low. Everybody knows how to get that car into 4 low. You have, a Nissan or something, we don't know how to get it into 4 low. We were on a trail for winter 4x4, and somebody brought their, new Lexus. And it had some sort of automatic switching from 2 to 4 to 6 to 8, whatever, and nobody knew how to use it, including the driver. And, there was snow and ice, and we ended up towing that car halfway through the trail because it just couldn't get up any hills that had snow and ice on them. And unfortunately, nobody even knew how to work the controls in the car. So we do like to stick to Wranglers as a club. But for the purpose of education, we welcome all off-roaders, whatever you drive. And everything that we talk about today pretty much will pertain to all vehicles. There are a lot of clubs in Las Vegas that go out, not just Wranglers, but mix of vehicles. Okay, quick little legal disclaimer so the lawyers don't come after me. Today's presentation is just an introductory lecture, and nothing that we say is the absolute granite truth. So if you attend this class and then go out on your own and say, hey, I'm a certified 4x4 person because I took Fred's class, and you get yourself in trouble, you're on your own. You can't come and blame us for it. Okay, so understand that circumstances change, vehicles are different, trails are different. Trails change almost weekly. We go out on the same routes and they're seldom the same twice. Because every time it rains, the old trail gets washed out and the new trail suddenly appears 20 feet to the right or 20 feet to the left. And during the middle of the night, guys come out in big trucks and drop rocks where there's never been rocks before. I think they just go up and down the streets of Summerlin and pick up big rocks and take them to the trails and dump them. So a trail that was smooth as a driveway last week during the pre-run, all of a sudden it's got these big boulders in the way. So when you hear about a trail online, you go to a website, All Trails, Jeep Trails, whatever, and they say, oh, here's a fun one, and you download it. Don't assume that it's a good trail. You have to talk to somebody who has run the trail recently. We have a policy in our club. Every run we go out on, we pre-run it about a week before. And we'll go out with just a few Jeeps and check it out. Because sometimes we have to remap them. Sometimes the trails are just totally impassable. Sometimes they're fine. I run Mormon Wells all the time because it's really easy and close to my house. And I take other people up there. And some days it's like, it's going out of my driveway. It's like, wake me up. Like, there's nothing to it. And other days there's like big holes in the dirt, little mini obstacles. You never know. And that's a relatively easy one. Some of the harder trails will vary a lot. So one of the nice things about going out with a club is you're not going out alone. There's people around you, to help you out and stuff. But if you're going to venture out, be cautious on that. Any activities you do with Desert Wranglers, you participate at your own risk. You understand that if you go out in the dirt, things can happen. You can easily get a flat tire, especially with stock tires. We'll talk about that later. You can get lost. You're going to get what we call desert pinstriping. All these shrubs just brush against the side of your car, and you'll have all these ugly scratches. And then you sit there and try to use the scratch remover polish as best you can. But Basically, those are scars that say, you're not a pavement princess, you're not a poser. You're
Or a
not
mall crawler.
You actually do it. My wife and I have this game, we'll go to a parking lot, we'll see this really tricked out Jeep, really gorgeous, looks like a show Jeep. And we'll stare at it from about 50 feet away and we go, real or poser? Real or poser? Then we walk up close to it and start inspecting the vehicle. Well, if we see the desert pinstripes in the beautiful body paint, we know this person has been out. If we see little bits of mud caked in the little cracks, nooks and crannies, we know that this person has been out. If we sit there and look at the side rails, and some of them are a little scuffed and marked, or the sidewalls have a little blemish, we know. But if the car is like total pristine, we know, nah, just showing off. You know, a big giveaway are the high lift jacks. Because high lift jacks don't work on every vehicle. Yeah, you can mount them on any vehicle, but a high lift jack, you know, requires a special place to connect to. And if you don't have a proper side rail or a steel bumper that's reinforced, high lift jack ain't gonna do anything for you. It's just gonna sit there and look pretty. You won't be able to jack your vehicle off. So when you see these stock vehicles with plastic bumpers and no side rails, but they got a high lift next to their tires, like, yeah. The dude has never learned how to use it, never tried, never looked at the videos.
Looks pretty.
It is pretty. Anyway, as I said, you participate, Desert Wranglers at your own risk. That's why when you go out on a trail, the first thing you do is sign a waiver. Just remind you of that. Some of the topics we're going to talk about today will be tires, airing up, airing down, some basic equipment, what kind of recovery gear you should have, radio, GPS communications, electronics, and most importantly, some driving tips, how to tackle some of the obstacles, and of course, trail etiquette. There are some rules of the road so that we're all just kind of something community. Oh, sorry.
Oops, too far.
Okay, if you learn nothing else today, this is the most important thing we're going to talk about today. Don't go out alone. Yes, you have a 4x4 vehicle, but regardless of how good a vehicle it is, how good a driver you are, how confident you are, shit happens. And may have nothing at all to do with your driving skill or your navigation skills. Things break, trails change. So always go out with at least a second vehicle. Because as you all know, once you get on a trail, you lose cell service. You're on your own. You can't call AAA, even if you could, he said. When you get your Jeep to the main highway, we'll come tow you. No, those 15 miles in dirt. But always make sure you have a second vehicle. And you see that Jeep over there? That's mine. When we were newbies.
Brand new, not even plates on it yet.
Yeah, when we were newbies, we were
No pins
taking the
breaking
little
yet.
shortcut between Zion and Cedar City, because it read like a fun trail, and all the internet stuff we read, and said, yeah, let's go ahead and do, Coble Canyon Reservoir Pass. And everything was fine until we got to the top of the mountain, and yeah, we got stuck in snow, and lucky for us, some other 4x4 people came down the road about 15 minutes after we got totally stuck, and they got us unstuck. So we learned the hard way. Yeah, don't go out alone, because you just don't know what can happen and when it can happen. All right, our first topic is we're going to talk a little bit about tires. So if you have a stock vehicle, this is the very first thing you want to upgrade. You want to get rid of those stock tires if you're planning on going in dirt. Okay. All right, so the first thing we want to there's a difference between all-season tires and all-terrain tires. If you're getting tires from the dealership, if you're buying tires, do not confuse the two terms. All-season means, if it's dry street, if it rains a bit, if it's very, very light snow flurries, you're good. That's just for daily driving. All-terrain are different. All-terrain have, basically a deeper tread pattern. One of the first things you'll notice is highway tires tend to have these grooves running kind of vertically, as where your all-terrains and mud tires, notice you don't have those stripes. So that's a quick way to tell whether you're on a street tire or an all-terrain tire. And you can't always go by the label. The people who sell tires, everything is new, improved, guaranteed for 60,000 miles, even though they'll fall apart after 20,000. Yes, Steve?
Can I add something about the
Yes.
sticker on the tire?
Yes?
When you go shopping for tires, unless it's on the sticker of a mileage warranty, it doesn't exist. When you go to a tire shop and they're gonna tell you, yeah, we'll give you a 75,000 mile warranty on it, that's the shop giving you that warranty because that's their magnet, you're coming back. If it's not on the sticker, it doesn't exist.
Okay, so one of the biggest difference between street tires and all-terrain tires is, one, you have a lot more rubber on the tread. It's thicker and deeper, so it's less likely to puncture. But also on the sidewall of the tire, which is the fragile part, true all-terrain and mud tires have much thicker rubber and basically protection. So you'll find that, like on the side of the tire, you'll see kind of like rubber fingers, kind of as a little guard. As where on a street tire, you don't have that pronounced outcropping of rubber on the side of the tire. So that's something you want to look at, because when you're driving off-road, you'll have sharp little projectiles, and if your Jeep is not on a perfect line, it can rub up against an outcrop of rock or something sharp and literally just slash your tire. And slashed tires are the hardest things to deal with. A puncture, you can patch them, but sidewall damage, you pretty much got to change it. There's very few sidewall injuries that are repairable in the dirt. Is that correct, Steve? Or
I'm sorry, one more time, I didn't hear you.
sidewall damage?
Mhm.
I was saying.
Pretty much had to swap out the tire.
Right. There
There's
is,
not a lot you can do in the field.
I've seen some stuff they sell that maybe you could patch it to hobble along, but it's not highway rated. You can maybe get yourself to the road, but you shouldn't be taking that tire on the highway. once
yeah,
you
there
touch the
is
sidewall.
there's a specific limit on the tire where it meets the curve from the actual tread to the sidewall, where's the limit where you can't safely patch or even legally plug, because now you're messing with a very weak structure. If you look at that diagram, now the bottom tire is going to be the easiest one to describe. Right. So now, as Fred noticed or made a notice of the horizontal lines, those are called sipes or kerfs. Now, at the very cusp of it, just before it gets to the edge or the sidewall, that's the limit. When it starts to curve or bend on its form, that's the legal limit. You can't patch it, and legally you can't plug it either, because it becomes a safety hazard for the highway.
Okay, here we're looking at the difference between a mud tire, an MT, versus an AT. And if you look at it at first glimpse, they look very similar. If you look a little closer, you'll see there's bigger spaces between the feet on a mud tire than an all-terrain. So having these extra openings just allows the loose mud to flow and not, cake in as much. So you get better traction on soft stuff with a mud. All terrain is more of a compromise. the majority of people who drive their Jeeps as daily drivers go with a nice all-terrain tire. If you're doing just off-road, then you'll probably opt for the empty or the mud terrain. Mud terrains are more expensive.
You also have to rotate them more. They're just
But-
more maintenance.
Yep.
And they wear much quicker on asphalt. So again, the question is your Jeep just being trailered, to run? And you rarely use the tires on asphalt, or is it your daily driver and you simply hit the trails on, a couple weekends a month? So the majority of people go with a good all-terrain tire. If you haven't shopped for tires yet, they run easily $350 per tire. And the thing with all-terrains and mud terrains is, it's not like a street tire where you have 4 good tires and 1 crappy spare. You can't use a crappy spare off-road.
Lesson learned.
So when you buy
5 tires.
you need to buy them in sets of 5.
I thought it would be smart, just rotate the 4 until one went bad, and my brand new spare, after 50 some odd thousand miles.
Was rotted.
No, it was actually in great shape,
Yeah.
but
It
it
was
just
bigger
wouldn't
than
fit the rest
yours.
of them because it would.
Oh.
So that problem made me buy my 37 mud, so I'm happy now.
Well, it'll get you out of the desert.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what matters
So
in the
when you
end.
have your spare tire that matches the 4 tires on your vehicle and you never use it, is it still important to buy 5 tires at a time or just keep the spare on there?
Well, as long as the spare matches the other 4.
Right, okay.
Same tire size.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
You know, you don't
Then you're
wanna
okay.
have your original spare tire, which is a street tire, and then 4 all-terrains, because one, there'll be separate diameter, separate weight. So you have 3 tires that weigh, say, 55 pounds, and 1 tire that weighs 35 pounds, it's gonna
Yeah.
cause some issues for
But
you.
if they're all 5 the same right now, let's say, and I need to, replace my running tires, I could just do 4 instead of 5, if I bought exactly the same thing
Yes,
that I already have.
yeah, if they're the
For a
same.
certain
Yeah.
amount of time.
Yeah, you should just do 5 tire rotations, or tell whoever rotates the tires, be like, I want a 5 tire rotation.
Mhm.
Rotate the spare in as part of the,
That's a good idea, a little late.
Yeah.
yeah,
But
for
great
next
idea.
time.
Same way.
But the problem is, tires, like computers and phones, change every couple of years. So the tires you bought 3 years ago probably aren't available today if you walk into a tire shop.
Got it.
They'll have some variation of it, but it won't be the exact same tire. So generally, it's better just to do a 5 tire rotation. That way all of your tires wear evenly and you'll get more mileage out of it.
And mud gets your Jeep much dirtier when you're in the mud too, so you want to look cool.
I'm the coolest dude here, man.
Okay, in terms
That's
of
full
tire
of
size, the stock tires you got on your vehicle are probably anywhere from 29 inches in full diameter to about 31. Those tend to be your stock 4x4 tires. For off-roading, most people use either 33s or 35s. 33-inch all-terrains are generally the largest you can stick on most Jeeps without a lift. Some vehicles like the new Saharas are already slightly lifted. 33s are a piece of cake on that. But some of the sports and other vehicles, you'll find 33 is about the maximum size you can go without lifting up your car or doing mods to it. The difference between using a 33 all-terrain or a 35 all-terrain on the trail depends on the kind of stuff you do. 35s are nicer, obviously, on the trail, but on the same token, if you're using it for your daily driver, you'll find you'll get less miles per gallon because the tires are a lot heavier, so it's a lot more weight for your vehicle to deal with. I've heard pros and cons for daily driving. Some people prefer 33s, some go 35s. People who do a lot of off-roading all tend to go with the 35s. but again, if it fits your Jeep. So you really have to ask somebody before you just go out and rush out and buy tires. A big issue is gonna be the width of the tire. Okay, good ATs can be pretty wide. I mean, my tire is 12.5 across. Your street tires tend to be about 10. So yeah, you're getting a lot more traction, but it also means that when you try to turn, your tire is more likely to rub against the inside of the wheel well. So the solution for that is to either get different rims that basically push the tire out from the axle a little bit, or if you don't want to spring for a set of 4 rims, which are not cheap, you can get spacers. which
5
are
rims,
cheap.
don't forget the spare.
I'm sorry, what?
5 wheels.
Don't forget the spare.
Yeah. So spacers are basically just little metal plates that literally fit between the tire and the axle hub, and that'll buy you an extra inch or inch and a half on each direction. Yes.
So I think that the standard Wrangler rims are 8.5 inch. I think the widest tire you could put on that safely is 11.5.
No.
So, no?
No.
You could put 12.5 on an 8.5 rim?
Yeah, because the 8.5 is not talking about the top of the tire, it's talking about the
It's
bottom
talking
of the
about
tire.
that bead.
I mean, I can say that definitively, because I've got a 21 Wrangler, and I still have my factory rims that it came with, but we're running 33-inch Mickey Thompson Bajas on it, which are 12.5 wide. And we did have to add spacers to it in order to make tight turns. Without spacers, you can still do fine on the straight. You just can't make that really, really tight U-turn. So as long as you're not making super tight turns, you're fine. But I mean, you won't notice it just driving up and down the street and turning around a curve. We're talking about like trying to make a U-turn in a 10-foot wide street. That's where the spacers will come in handy. The downside to spacers is that it'll push your tire outside the fender. And that means if there is any mud in the road, you will know it, because it will spray your car with mud anytime you go through it.
Then you're a cool kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you like driving
Look
a
like
really
you went
clean
for
Jeep,
it.
yeah,
If you have a Gladiator Sport and you have the towing package, you would have different axles. So what you should know is you have the same axles as a Rubicon, even though you have a Sport.
Correct.
So you can fit larger tires and you don't have to space or lift.
yeah. Yes.
So you go to a tire shop and you exchange these tires for the all-terrain. Do they know to put those spacers in, or how do you do that? How do you get the spacers put in there?
Steve?
Most tire shops will not have this information. Their goal is to get you as a customer to sell you something. Unless they are specifically an off-road shop with experience. Your basic tire guy like Discount Tire or Goodyear, whoever else is out there, they're not gonna know. Unless they have one guy that's like, oh yeah, I do this for like half my life or part of my living, or it's a full-on off-road shop. No, the regular tire shop's not gonna know.
Also, if you get spacers, make sure they're hub-centric and rim-centric.
Yes, hub-centric wheels. Yeah, hub-centric helps eliminate the vibration. You're right.
Yeah, generally our recommendation is if you're going to do mods to your Jeep until you get to Steve's level, take it to somebody that the whole community recommends. So for instance, I always go over to Wrecked It, AJ McGowan shop, and I know anything that AJ puts on my Jeep or recommends is gonna be done right. A lot of people don't wanna do that because they say, oh, well, he's $400 more expensive than this guy, but there's a reason. Okay, you can be fast and cheap, or you can be good.
Get what you pay for.
Yeah.
How often should you rotate your tires?
Every 27
I don't know.
Steve got that
I do it when I go in for an oil change.
Yeah, the average runtime on tire rotation would be anywhere from 3,000 to 6,000 miles. Most of us are running a semi-synthetic to full synthetic oil. You change it every 6 instead of the 7,500. So yeah, if you rotate every 6,000 miles, it'd be very adequate. And do a 5-tire rotation at that.
Yeah, usually when you go in for an oil change, it's kind of the time to do it.
Yeah, they usually throw in a rotate for free, unless it's the dealer. They charge you for everything.
So you're saying take it to AJ and he'll do oil and tires?
I don't know who AJ is, but sure.
So you're not saying.
Yeah, a place like Reckitt can do
And
everything.
is that out by the Speedway?
No, he,
Speedway is Vegas 4x4.
Oh, Vegas.
yeah, Reckitt is down by Valley View and Sahara,
Okay.
kind of in the industrial park there. There's other places too, American Custom. I mean, there's a lot of good mechanics and dealers out there. But the thing is, take it to somebody who knows off-roading.
Take it to someone you trust.
If you're doing,
Oh, you don't.
if you're changing, like, so I go to Discount Tire, but I already have all my mods in. But I'll actually tell you why I go to Discount Tire. They sell a no questions asked warranty for $80, and I've already replaced 3 tires in 6 months from nails, sidewall punctures, and they'll rotate them. But I haven't needed to rotate them because they keep putting new tires on. Yeah.
And now what you can do, of course, is buy your tires first at discount and then take it
Somewhere else.
off the place
Yeah.
and say, I need spacers, I need this or that.
I don't recommend spacers personally. Like, if you want an interim solution, I would just get new wheels with the proper back spacing and offset. But if you want a solution that's cost affordable immediately and you're gonna save up to get new wheels later, spacers are fine, but I prefer just do the wheel and tire, get the proper everything and just get it all done in one
Yeah,
shot.
yes, Steve.
I'm sorry, I'd like just to add what Greg was saying. Yes, spacers are affordable, but consider the fact that you have, your spacer is a round disc with studs on it. So now you're gonna bolt it onto your hub. Then you're gonna take your wheel and bolt that onto the spacer that's bolted onto your hub. You got a lot of bolting, there's no welding. They're susceptible to vibration, lug nuts are gonna come loose, you know? Unless you're one of these guys that uses the super strong red Loctite that's never gonna come off, but then, you know, that's a different problem altogether for the future. Obviously, changing wheels is a little bit more on the pricey side, but that's really the right way to go. Because you select the wheel with a proper back spacing without future headaches.
Yeah, I mean, again, different solutions for different price ranges, different steps in your
Journey, yeah.
Yeah. 35 versus 37s and 40s. Important thing to note, if you got a Rubicon, you don't have to think about this. Because Rubicons come with really heavy duty axles.
Well, after 37 you do. 37's about the top end
37,
of
okay.
a Rubicon,
37s,
yeah.
yeah.
That's their max.
But-
38's the new.
Yeah, but as you keep increasing your tire size, you're putting more stress on your axles. So 33s, not a problem. 35s, I've heard varying opinions. Some people say, don't do 35s without an upgraded axle if you just have a standard Jeep. Some people say 35s are okay, but don't go any bigger than that. But do understand that the bigger your tires, the more stress you're putting on your axles. So, before you jump into a big tire, ask some questions to some people. And make sure you're not getting in too much. I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, that usually 35s are okay on the standard Danas, right?
They're usually okay. I mean, you risk breakage if you're doing extreme off-roading, like, but they're usually okay. 35s are usually okay on the
Yeah,
sport axles, yeah.
the standard axle, not a Rubicon, is usually a Dana 30. It is smaller, a little weaker. It's not a Dana 44. I mean, there's a reason they put so much praise on it. But unlike, like Greg said, unless you're like, you know, some kind of rock crawler and gonna need chromoly axles and a truss or some other kind of reinforcement, you should be fine. I mean, we see 35s on the street every day.
You can always refer to Keith's trails.
But yeah, right?
You could also trust the axle. I mean, you can spend hours on conversations without replacing. You know, you could strengthen and do things without putting a whole new axle on.
Just
but-
put a Dana 16
yeah.
up front, call it a day.
Yeah.
Be aware of, if you increase your tire size from basically 35 on up, you normally need your car recalibrated. So
Yep.
the speedometer and transmission, more so the transmission than your speedometer, speedometer. But the transmission needs to know
The shift points.
the shift points
It'll slip.
for the different diameter tires. So they do have little electronic things called tasers and whatnot that can go in and reprogram it. So again, if you're getting your tires from a real mechanic, they know about that stuff and they'll make the adjustments. If you're getting it at Discount Tire, you'll probably have to take your Jeep to a mechanic after you get the new tires.
You're better off buying it yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you have to do it more than once, it's already paid for itself. The little electronic things like a taser is like $300. A dealership will charge you $150 to adjust the tire size in the JL computer. For $300, you can change it as many times as you want. Plus a whole bunch of other stuff you could change. Not just tire size.
All sorts of fun.
Go ahead, Steve.
I'd like to add that without doing the taser or some other programmer, if you decide to go to a larger tire or re-gear or whatever the case is, there's such a thing as limp mode. And the vehicle's computer is gonna freak out because math takes a whole big part in this. You've changed diameter without changing the gear ratio, but the ratio completely actually changed. The computer's gonna freak out, it'll put you in limp. Limp, you'll be limited to about 20, 25 miles an hour until this is corrected. So even if you're on the highway, if it's on limp, you're stuck.
And now remember, we have our club expert right there, and he is available by email, stevez@desertwranglers.club.
Just throw me out there.
Signed up.
Yeah, right?
Signed up for it.
Yeah, so if you do have, personal questions after the class, you want to double check something, you're welcome to ask any of us any questions.
We'll refer to Steve.
More.
And then we'll all
Well,
forward
poor
them to
Steve.
Don't forget to visit us on YouTube at Desert Wranglers. All right. Hey, I hope you enjoyed the episode. It was a lot of great information shared. We had a lot of knowledgeable individuals participate, of course, with all of the novice questions, which we were more than happy to help out. I hope you find that this video as educational and as entertaining as we did when we were live as we were recording this. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Don't forget to join us at Defiant Jeep on YouTube and all our other social platforms. And don't forget, coming soon is www.defiantjeep.com. And don't forget about desertwranglers.club. We'll see you on the trails. Bye-bye.